On Friday night, March 31st, 1848, I then thought I could put a test that no one in the place could answer. Oh, Mr. Slipfoot, can you rap the number of my children? Is this a human being that answers so correctly? Is it a spirit? If it is, make 2 raps. If it was an injured spirit, make 2 raps. Are you injured in this house? Is the person living that injured you? I ascertained by the same method that it was a man, aged 31 years, that he had been murdered in this house, and his remains were buried in the cellar, that his family consisted of a wife and 5 children, 2 sons and 3 daughters, all living at the time of his death, but that his wife had since died. Will you continue to rap if I call my neighbors so that they can hear it too? My husband went and called in Mrs. Redfield, our nearest neighbor. I asked a few questions for her, and was answered as before. She then called her husband, and the same questions were asked and answered. Then Mr. Redfield called in Mr. DeWesler and wife, and several others. Mr. DeWesler then called in Mr. and Mrs. Hyde, also Mr. and Mrs. Jewell. Mr. DeWesler then asked questions and received answers.
Were you murdered? Can your murderer be brought to justice? Can he be punished by the law? If your murderer cannot be punished by the law, manifest it by rap.
Mr. DeWesler ascertained that he was murdered in the east bedroom about 5 years ago, and that the murder was committed by an unknown mister on a Tuesday night at 12 o'clock, that he was murdered by having his throat cut with a butcher knife, that the body was taken down to the cellar, that it was not buried until the next night, that it was taken through the buttery, down the stairway, and that it was buried 10 feet below the surface of the ground. It was also ascertained that he was murdered for his money, by Rapp's affirmative. How much was it? 100? No rap. Was it 200? Etc. And then he mentioned 500. The raps replied in the affirmative.
It was 500 persons. It is.
Many called in, and all heard the same questions and answers. It was said that there were over 300 persons present at the time. On Saturday night, April 1st, they commenced digging in the cellar. They dug until they came to water, and then gave it up.
Though they dug through the cellar and came back empty-handed, there was already a slight disturbance in the beliefs of the minds of all those present. This disturbance consisted of the sheer belief that spirits from the afterlife could contact the living in both positive, negative, and neutral ways, thus sparking the spiritualist movement from the late 1840s to the 1920s among the U.S. population. Despite the Fox sisters later taking back their words due to a grand reward of $1,500, many firm believers continue to think that the Fox family incident was merely one of many ghostly attempts at contacting the living. What a marvelous story, though some disagree. But if that's the case, how do you explain this?
It's boring. Come on, let's go to the schoolhouse. No, it's too scary. You're such a crybaby. Yes, you are. Al. Yes, you are. Let's go. Come on.
Hello, this way. Let's go! Thanks. No, what they thought about it. Yeah, the door is locked. You're like, yeah, about spirits. Ain't nothing but a spirit.